Hey guys, welcome back to the lab. On this week's episode of Recovery Lab Live, we talk about evaluation techniques.
We talk about releasing the psoas muscle.
We also go into some text resources that have been very influential to me, as well as mentorship.
And baseball athletes and what we see with them.
So I hope you guys enjoy. Stick around. We're coming at you right now. Recovery Lab Live! Welcome back. Looks like Yao is in the room again, ready to go.
Question out. Yeah, let's get it started, my man.
We know you got questions, Yao. Come on, man. Don't keep us hanging. We don't have any prepared material for you guys this week. Sorry I have not yet posted the last week's YouTube version. It will go up this weekend, I assure you. Just had some technical difficulties with the computer and memory and iMovie and all that good stuff. Cool. So, what's going on? Anthony, how was your week?
This week was great, Mike.
Yeah,
this week was good.
Another fast one, man. It went really quick.
I mean, it's cold outside, but it's burning up in the recovery lab. I know
exactly. Well, last week it was 72 degrees when we did our live feed, and this week it's 37 degrees. So
37 degrees.
We spoke too soon on the mild fall / late winter. Well, yeah. So it's cold here now. So we got our comeuppance.
Burr.
Yep.
We got a couple questions.
All right, cool. Let's get right to it. So we're gonna do a shortened version, guys, this week. It's Friday night, and the feeling's right for not being here. So we're gonna do a 20-30 minute sesh today. And get that up on YouTube as well, so fire away whenever you guys are ready.
All right, NBA Vader, where did you go to PT school? Well,
that's a good question. I didn't go to PT school. I'm an athletic trainer, so I went to ATC school, but it's very similar discipline. You know, it's mostly, obviously, an AT program is much more like emergency medicine. Triaging is a big component of it, which you wouldn't see in PT. Not as heavy of a neuro or cardiac component, except for like emergency care.
Right.
I would say the only neuro and cardiac you see is emergency care for like a catastrophic injury.
Right.
Outside of that, it's all orthopedics. And evaluation and treatment and rehab and performance training and all that other stuff. So, I went to Marist College for undergrad. I went to George Washington for my graduate school, and then I've done a lot of advanced certificates since then. So yeah.
Cool.
ATC.
Cool. Getting to know you. Panda Pals. Yao asks, what are your biggest challenges working with baseball players?
Baseball players? I would say any unilateral or rotational athletes definitely pose a unique challenge. I think as the game continues to look for velocity as the main component for like pitchers specific. It definitely kind of ups the ante, and it's it's the law of escalation. That escalates, and that becomes the priority. The injury rates are going to go up. The training tactics, the extreme nature of training tactics is going up. I think, all year round participation is definitely a challenge at the youth level for us, for high school. We got guys that literally just stopped. So we got kids that are playing from February till November. And, and my what I usually say to parents is, do you think your son has the capacity of a Major League Baseball player? Because essentially that's the season that he's playing. Is from February to November.
Yeah,
so
these kids play a lot of games.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging, So it's giving them what they need, giving them what they want. Managing the different people that are involved, coaches. A lot of coaches coach, spring, summer, and fall ball, and then they also have like pitching lessons or hitting lessons that they do in the winter. So they're a business too, and they're looking for revenue, and they're looking for these athletes to continue to spend their money with them.
That's a great point.
And sometimes it's a conflict of interest. We have coaches in the local area sometimes that are with the best of intentions trying to give their athletes what they think they need, which is a lot of times like performance training and rehab and prehab, and they don't really have the background or the experience, so what they end up doing is like template programming it and giving it to their kids, and sometimes maybe doing more harm than good.
Gotcha.
So those are all different challenges for sure of working with these with some of the baseball athletes for sure.
That's a good answer. We got like 4 other questions.
Pending, awesome.
Yao asks, what's your typical work day look like at AMP?
A typical work day here, for me, morning time is usually administrative work, so looking at scheduling, running any reports on the business side of things, ordering supplies or, doing inventory, cleaning the facility, making phone calls and emails to prospective clients or inquiries, or doing the social media content. And then from about 1 to 8 or 9 o'clock Monday through Thursday, we're working with the athletes. So we're doing, so we're pretty much in the lab, doing treatments, doing evaluations, doing prehabs, prevention work. And then Fridays, you have a little bit of an easier day. Saturday, I do about 2 to 3 Saturdays out of every month in terms of like seeing athletes and training athletes. So, it's a pretty crazy day to day, but it's a lot of fun.
Alden_Dervis asks, what are the biomechanical considerations for a pulled, I think he meant IT band?
Yeah.
Ran more than I have recently and felt the pull.
Alden is one of my former athletes.
Awesome.
He was a men's soccer player at George Washington University. I was a graduate assistant there, and he was one of my men's soccer players.
That's awesome.
What's up, Alden? Alden was like the personality of the team. He was always organizing the social events for the team, and by social events I mean parties.
Alden.
He was that guy. What are the biomechanical implications for a tight IT band?
Yeah.
Pulled IT band?
Yeah,
First of all, there is no
band.
such thing as a tight IT band, Alden. If you're having IT band pain, if it's up at the hip, check your TFL and your glute and just make sure your hip mobility is there. If it's down by the knee, if you're having like knee pain, then you can definitely do some like lateral quad and hamstring work. You could have some like fascial adhesions that are causing like less than perfect gliding between the fascial or the tissue layers. I would say go on the YouTube channel and check out, I did a whole video on IT band syndrome and like the manual treatment for such, and definitely start with some of those tactics. So he's just been running more. So a part of it is conditioning and just felt so maybe
location.
It could even be hamstring, man. It might feel like it's IT band. It could be hamstring insertional stuff. It's hard to say. Hard to say without evaluating you. So definitely, treat it if you felt it. If it was an acute thing, then treat it as an acute injury and take the necessary precautions early on and then progress as tolerated.
Cool. Yao asks, what's your experience with weighted balls and how do you use it with your pitchers? So
that's a great question.
Yeah.
I guess that's a follow-up to the baseball population question.
Sure.
We do have a weighted ball program here. It's not a weighted ball program. We call it Optimal Arm Project. You can find out more about our arm program at ampathletes.com/OAP. So Optimal Arm Project, what ended up happening was we had a lot of athletes asking us about weighted ball programs and velocity programs, and we saw some other programs that were being run in the area that lacked a lot of substance, where it was more, again, a revenue generator, and I'm not going to point fingers or mention names, but it became more of like, hey, we can do this program and make a quick buck and give everybody the same basic program, and that's just not the way we do things here. So we had so many people asking about it that we decided that it was a necessary thing to offer, not only from a business perspective, but in order for us to be able to curate that and keep the quality of that program very high. So we went out and got the research from the guys at like Driveline. We spoke with Tom House at MPA, all the guys that are kind of leading that charge on the weighted ball research. Got their data, which they were very, very nice enough to share with us, and then obviously working with different pitching coaches and athletes that have used it in the past, understanding the biomechanics of throwing, understanding human anatomy and physiology, understanding strength and conditioning concepts, and taking all of that and blending it into a program that is really teaching our athletes, A, how to be athletic as a throwing athlete, B, how to prepare their bodies for throwing. We use the Optimal Arm Project as a conditioning tool. In the Northeast, it's really hard for guys to get out and throw, because it's so freaking cold out. They can't go out and long toss and do like a nice long ramp-up period before their season starts. So Optimal Arm allows us to bring it inside and to dose their throwing in a controlled way so that we can kind of quote-unquote stretch them out over a 10-week period that leads right up to their season. And fortunately, the side effect of that, in many cases, is increased velocity. It's a side effect. It's not our main thing. It's not a terrible thing. But we treat it much as an injury prevention program, as an educational tool.
Right.
So out of an hour and 20 minutes of what a normal OAP session usually consists of, I would say about maybe 15 minutes of that are involved with weighted balls. Then we'll design individualized programs depending on what the guys need, and we also will tailor in-season programming for them to keep it, if they're a lot of athletes that are obviously responding well to it, we'll help them incorporate it and dose it effectively. I think what you see a lot of mistakes is people just improperly dose the weighted balls.
Sure.
People don't understand it because it's not a baseball is very traditional in a lot of senses. So you got some of the old timers that really think that it is the devil. Mm-hmm. It's a tool. There's a time and a place for everything. It's all about how you use the tool, when you use the tool, why you use the tool. We're very strict with who we let do this program. We don't just let anybody with $1,000 show up and do it. We evaluate them first, and if they don't meet our minimum qualification, they don't do it. And a lot of times in those cases, we'll have athletes that seek us out for Optimal Arm Project, and really what they end up doing is performance training. And they'll end up gaining velocity just
because that's what they needed.
Because that's what they need. They got issues. Some guys think they have arm issues, and a weighted ball is going to fix it. But again, and it could be part of a plan that helps address their issue. But I think we take a very pragmatic and common sense approach with weighted balls. It's a part of a system.
Right.
It's a part of our system. So we fit our Optimal Arm Project within the training system at AMP, and that's why we have the success that we do. Is it the same as everybody else's program? No, absolutely not. But we're definitely always making it better, and we're open-minded and willing to listen to experts in the field and people who use it more than we do, and we can go from there.
Cool. Great.
Excuse me.
Tactical massage therapy.
Yes. George, what's up, man?
George, he said, "Hi, Mike. Took your advice on ankle and hip mobility and strengthening, and it has been working really well."
Nice, dude.
Thank
Great.
you.
That's awesome. Yeah, George, for sure.
That's awesome.
Sometimes it's just if you need specific results, you got to do specific stuff. So I'm glad that worked out for you, man.
T. Zegan.
Oh, Tommy.
Yeah. Tommy's in.
Tommy's in the room.
Really great question.
What's this?
I think you got this one. I found that when I'm deadlifting, I'm lifting way too much weight. Why am I so strong?
Dude. Yeah, man. I think it's just blessed with genetics. You got iron in your blood, so.
Iron in the blood.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. It's you can't stop the beast. So what are you gonna do?
Feed the beast.
Feed the beast. Keep feeding him, Tommy.
It's not too much.
I think the platform you were using was the helium platform. So it was an illusion of weight. No, I'm kidding. No, Tommy's he's an explosive athlete. There's a perfect example of a baseball player that came when he started training at AMP.
Right.
He dedicated himself to the process, put on 20 pounds of muscle, and totally changed his game, and he was already a good player. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Then he added the physical tools to be even better. So, now he's interning for us, which is really cool, so he's kind of come full circle, so keep working, Tommy, and good things will happen.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
NBA Vader, why did you choose to have your own practice instead of working for a team or league?
I think it kind of happened organically that way. I had spent most of my career in college sports medicine. I started at the University of Florida, which was really cool to start at that high level and work with those athletes. And then I went to GW, which is more of like a mid-major. And then I moved back to New York, or I really wanted to move back to New York because I had some family stuff that needed my attention.
Right.
So I took a job at LIU Brooklyn, which was a really small D1. really small sports med staff, and I just kind of got really burnt out really fast. I really took a very heavy manual approach like I always had done, and it just, it wasn't enough of me to go around, so I kind of really burnt myself out, and financially, I wasn't able to make ends meet, and I was approached by a PT, a physical therapist who owned a clinic in Manhattan. He offered me a job that was going to pay my bills a little bit better and give me a little better work-life balance and kind of figure out what I was going to do from there, and I thought that would be a long-term thing for me, and it kind of ended up being something where I wasn't really able to help people because it was a lot of turn and burn. So I kind of felt like it was almost like, wow, I went from this setting where it's like not enough for me to go around to a setting where it should be enough, and it wasn't. And we weren't getting results because we only get like 10 minutes with people, and for the most part, I was just hooking people up to machines, which is not what I believe in. So I think philosophically, it irked me. Setting up AMP was definitely a big jump for sure, but my partner TJ was already going to start his performance training center, and at the time I was doing a lot of in-homes, like people paying me to train them, and I incorporated the manual therapy as part of their training. A lot of these people were PT clients or PT patients that had run out of insurance benefits, so I started offering my services, for cash, and so and then it kind of it was great. It was awesome money, and people really liked it. We were getting great results, and so the next step obviously was, instead of seeing 2 or 3 people a day where I was traveling to them,
right,
I could see 12 or 14 if they come to me,
right.
And that's kind of how we set it up. So it's an athletic training room. It's all it is. It's nothing. There's nothing in here that's like clinical or prescription. I think a lot of people think like we set up a PT clinic in here, and it's not. It's corrective exercise, soft tissue work, basic, like nutrition consulting, like
right.
just doing the basics well and coaching people up on good movement, and we get great results that way. So, that's
Real
it.
organic
Keeping it simple.
And holistic.
Like for sure. Zoomed out. Holistic,
right.
Zoomed out. Yep. Looking at everybody.
I like this next question. I asked, what is the last book that you gave away, and why did you make that recommendation? Kind of like
the last book I gave away.
Like the last book you may have gifted, or maybe, or why did you make that recommendation?
The last book I recommended was A Tooth from the Tiger's Mouth. I think I recommended that to you, which was that samurai book of how the samurai treated their injuries. We kind of, it was funny, we were talking about that today.
We were just talking about this. Like
the bring a book, leave a book, bring a book, or leave a book, take a book, where, like our interns or students or anybody who wants to can come to the AMP library and can kind of borrow a book. So I had a client recently borrow Supple Leopard from Kelly Starrett. He was really interested in that kind of stuff. So I let him borrow that to dig a little deeper. A really good one.
Yeah.
On some self-care stuff. But yeah, I would say that those were the last 2 that I've recommended to people.
All right.
What did I recommend to you? I recommended Anatomy Trains. Supple Leopard. I also gave you Thomas Meyer's other book that is not as well known as Anatomy Trains. It's called Fascial Release for Structural Balance.
Yeah, that's right. I was trying to remember the name of the title.
Reference for all things manual therapy if you're trying to be very specific with release work.
Right.
So it basically will like Anatomy Trains is, here's the functional anatomy model. Fascial Release for Structural Balance is taking that model and applying it to specific techniques.
Implementation of that knowledge.
Exactly.
Right.
So one hand feeds the other. They're both excellent. And then the other book that I recommended to Anthony was also Warren Hammer's book, which is evaluation and treatment
I did not
of
get
men
to it
with
so I can't
functional evaluation and treatment using manual methods. It's very, very dense. Warren Hammer, it's a chiropractic book. Very, very good. Very, very, very good reference if you're looking for a reference that goes over a little bit of everything. But it also goes very deep into some certain topics for sure. Really good one too if you're into that stuff.
Cool. And we were just talking about Audible last night and audio
yeah,
books.
For sure, yeah.
And you also mentioned the Gray Cook's lecture series.
That was a good one. Lecture
compendium.
If you haven't gotten a chance to go see Gray speak live, which if you haven't, you need to go. Like, go to Perform Better and go see Gray Cook speak live. Not only is he a captivating speaker, you know, it makes sense. Like, he's just, you know, he's one of the guys that I credit a lot of my success to because he was somebody that I found early on in my career or read early on in my career.
That's a really cool point you just made. That's Yao's next question.
Right.
What's the most influential person, book, experience that impacted your career or practice? So going off that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say when I got to Florida, I was originally supposed to work with football. So I got the job offer to be a GA with the football team, which is what I wanted. And then like a week or two later, the head athletic trainer calls me up and he says, Mike, I got bad news. The job that we offered to you actually no longer exists. We turned it into a full-time position for another person that we really liked, but we're going to create this new position for you with track and field if you're interested. And of course, I obviously took it. And when I got there, my supervisor at track and field, who was a very, very good manual therapist himself, asked me what my experience with soft tissue work was, and I basically said very, very little. I'd done some effleurage and like Swedish stuff in school, but nothing like really like in deep. So he was basically like, okay, great. Well, this is the basic effleurage. We call it a flush here. You're going to do 50 athletes a day, you know, and work with only the healthy athletes. I didn't work with any injured athletes right away. It was only, my job was to keep the healthy athletes healthy and give them whatever services they needed, which a lot of times was manual therapy. And I credit that experience with not only giving me the passion for manual therapy, but giving me really great context of manual therapy. I get that. Yeah. I was able to develop a touch for healthy tissue. And then when you find dysfunctional tissue, it pops right out at you. So it gave me a really good way to understand, and that's, I think, one of the strengths of an athletic training program is the ability to work with healthy athletes and prevent injuries. Whereas I found when I moved to the clinic, because I had a very strong background, the owner of the clinic basically charged me with training the physical therapist that he hired in manual therapy. You know, because even a physical therapy program isn't a manual therapy program. It's some programs cover it. Most programs really don't. Right. In a lot of depth. Yeah, you know, they might go over like specific like thrusts and manipulations and you know like we talked about, a mile wide, you know, 100 miles wide but only 1 mile deep. And so I was teaching a lot of these physical therapists how to do soft tissue work, you know, and how to do release work. And I was surprised, you know, because, and a lot of what the feedback I got from these therapists was that they just, you know, it's difficult when you're only working with people that are presenting with dysfunction. Right. You know, you don't get to see the other side of that token. Everybody that walks through the door has a piece of paper that says what's wrong with them on it. And so evaluation skills weren't maybe as strong as I thought my evaluation skills were as an athletic trainer, running out onto the field and not knowing what the hell was going on until you physically look at somebody and draw a conclusion. You know, obviously, you know, different strengths, different weaknesses, lots of overlap, even with massage therapy. So you got a great background in hands-on work. You know, when your license is done, you're going to have way more hands-on time than an AT or a PT student would. For sure. But you're not going to get as much evaluation time. Right. You know, and diagnostics, right? So obviously, 100%. Which is why you're here. You know, we can work on that together. But I credit that early experience at Florida with why I learned that manual therapy can instantly change the way somebody moves. And I didn't understand why that was the case at first. It was the case. And that was enough for me to dig deeper and start researching more. It's so cool. It was, you know, when you're working with track and field athletes, 100th of a second makes the difference between first and sixth, or first and last. Yeah, for sure, man. Right. You know, we had guys running sub 10-second hundreds. You know what I mean? Where the first place guy is running like a 9.96 and the last place guy is running a 9.99. You know what I mean? It's such a tight field that if you can give your athletes a competitive advantage, I mean, that's your job. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's where we really blended the sports medicine and sports performance were really one department, and it was called sports health. Cool. We were part of the same department, and I thought that was really cool, and that is kind of what AMP is now. Right. You know, it's AMP Recovery Lab. It's integrated for a reason, you know, because we can get better results that way. Cool. That's a really great question, man. Thank you for that. It's fun to relive that kind of stuff, too, you know?
I feel the passion.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen, it's, you know, I'm one of those lucky people. I love what I do. What can I say?
Can you do?
Guilty as charged.
Red Bull _bike. hi and hello from Serbia.
Hey, what's up?
What's happening? Probably a little colder in Serbia.
Maybe, possibly.
Maybe not. I don't really know. All right.
Thanks for coming by.
Panda, another question. Can you say the name of the book for the functional evaluation? So it's Thomas Myers.
I think he's asking about the Warren Hammer.
Oh, the Warren Hammer book.
It's
okay, so there's.
It's Functional Assessment and Intervention. I'm trying to think of the exact title. Hold on one second.
But the author is Warren Hammer.
Warren Hammer.
He's gonna run and go get it right now. Sprinting, not as fast as he used to be. And the other book was Thomas Myers. Assessment. I don't know. He's going to grab it right now. Any other questions? In the meantime, Alex Fit, what's up, man?
Okay, yeah.
How are you?
Here it is.
What do you got?
It's Warren Hammer. It's Functional Soft Tissue Examination and Treatment by Manual Methods. I had all the words. I just had them in the wrong order.
Is that a green cover? Yes, it is.
Yes, it's a green cover.
I think it's backwards.
It's probably backwards for you guys. Honestly, and I'll show you. It's extremely dense reading. There's not. I mean, this is like one of those things that it's basically like a Bible. It's a great reference. I've never read it cover to cover, but I've probably gotten through most of it in chunks. I mean, this thing goes over everything from evaluating injuries to evaluating movement to evaluating conditions, general medical conditions that lead to physical ramifications, I suppose, to actual manual therapy interventions, instrument assisted work, kinesiotaping, needling, everything. I mean, everything that you could possibly do to somebody is in this book on some level, and it's very, very, very deep. It was a book that, so basically I got to Florida. I told my supervisor that I was very novice with manual therapy.
Right.
And this is what he did. He gave me anatomy trains. He gave me that book. He gave me, what was the other one he gave me? He gave me a kinesiotaping book, and he said, these have to be read by the end of this month.
I dig that.
So, at least the anatomy trains one was the one that he really pushed on me early. Was like, whatever you learned about anatomy and physiology, forget it, because it's not how the body works. So look at this, and it totally changed my perspective on soft tissue work and how to work with athletes. So, and it's something I still do to this day. So Andy Clock, if you're out there, if you watch this video on some level, thank you, my friend. Thank you. I can't thank you enough for everything. So Andy's a great dude. He's the head athletic trainer for track and field at the University of Florida, has been in that capacity for a long time. I mean, Jesus, it's been 10 years since I've been there, and he was there for a few years beforehand. And, I mean, he's probably got more national championship rings at this point than fingers and toes to put them on, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason they have that level of success with that program, because from strength and conditioning to psychology to nutrition and sports medicine, I mean, they've got some quality people there. So
it's really, really cool.
Cool. Yeah, really for sure.
Cool. Red Bull Bike, got a question.
Sure.
Can you tell me if paused? Oh, I think we lost connection.
Oh, there it is. And we're back.
I hope you guys are still here. Can you tell me if posterior sacroiliac ligaments can cause pain that radiates to your lower part of the abdomen? What's your suggestion for improving palpatory skills?
Palpatory skills. I would say, okay, so the answer to the first part of that question is yes, it definitely can. You can, remember your pelvis, your SI joints are cartilaginous joints. They're not articulating joints necessarily. They don't have muscles that move them, but yes, they have some play.
Right.
You can get anterior abdominal wall pain from SI joint issues. Mm-hmm. Really, though, that issue is really more of muscular imbalance issues. So it depends, how you would intervene with that. Palpatory skills, I do far less palpation now than I did 10 years ago. My palpation exam, so obviously you know what palpation is, right?
Sure,
I'm touching and feeling, does this hurt, does that hurt,
yep.
Does this hurt? It can be extremely useful, but pain site and pain source are often way different things. So I don't like to. I do my injury history and my subjective first. First thing you do when you evaluate somebody is listen to what they have to say. Stop drawing conclusions before you've heard the whole story. And what I do is I always try to dig deeper, ask more questions. It's almost like, part of the thing that I think was like, wow, man, how do you do that? It was just like asking the questions that lead me to the answer that I need to get in order to make things make sense. And I think the more evaluations you do, the easier that becomes. Because you start to... Because from a good history, you should be able to kind of diagnose or at least have a good idea of what's going on.
Right.
And then you ask more questions and you dive deeper. And then that starts to differentiate their case to maybe similar cases that you had in the past.
Right.
Did this thing happen? Did this happen? Did this event? Or when you experience this discomfort, does this happen also? Like you have to give them... You got to give yourself context as an evaluator. And sometimes people don't tell you everything right away because I thought that my shin pain and my lower back pain were unrelated.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I asked them, do you have any other injuries, even if you don't think they're related? And how many times is there a yes to that?
Very common.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very common.
So get good at asking questions, get good at taking a good subjective. Then I do a movement evaluation, which I basically pull from the FMS and SFMA guys. I do a postural screen, which is a postural screen. It's nothing crazy. And then I do a joint-by-joint classic table assessment, goniometric assessment as baselines. I don't put a lot of stock in the goniometer. This book goes over goniometry in depth. And from there, I take that and I form a hypothesis. And I share that with the person. Taking all these different puzzle pieces, we'll put them together like this. Does this make sense to you? And if they go, yeah, actually that kind of makes sense, then boom, we have a direction to go. And we start treating for that. And if we start getting better, then we continue down that path. If we don't, then we take a step back, we reevaluate, form a new hypothesis, dig a little deeper, try new things, and continue down that road as necessary. So I don't palpate as much anymore. Definitely practice though. And when my first session too, I do an eval and treatment. So I do work on people in the first session. That's my palpatory exam.
Right.
Is once I start doing some effleurage and some tissue work in the areas that I am assuming or hypothesizing that that's an issue that they might have, and then I kind of let that be my help me dictate moving forward from there. So yeah, I mean that's a really good. Wow, we got some really good questions this week.
100%. 100%.
What do you think? So I think we'll give you guys this opportunity. Any last questions? If you guys are just jumping in the room, we're talking rehab, manual therapy. I guess we've been talking about how I got started, how AMP got started. Some books we've gone over. Anything else you guys have? Fire away. And we're going to wrap this up with one more question.
Do you guys do X-rays for your patients?
No.
Do not.
No. No, I in fact, I oftentimes I'll get be right.
Yeah,
I was like, up? I will get people very commonly in most scenarios with a new client.
Yep.
One of two things happens. They either reach out to me and read me their MRI report, which I hate, or they bring their MRI report and their X-rays in with them for me to look at. Which I'm not a radiologist. I've looked at enough scans that I know what I'm looking at for the most part.
Yep.
But X-rays, unless there's a fracture that's complicated or unstable, it's basically useless. It's good at ruling out stuff, I guess. So it goes, okay, great, nothing's broken, we can continue from there.
Right.
So we can assume it's a soft tissue problem or a nervous system problem or a movement problem. We can start attacking that. Because if you got a fracture that's complicated or unstable, I am not the guy to see.
You're not going to do anything.
There's nothing I can do for you except refer you to one of my awesome doctors that I have the fortunate availability of here in New York. But yeah, I don't put off. And a lot of people will come in and say, "Hey, I have these images. Do you need them?" And when I tell them no, they're shocked that I say no. It's okay. I don't really need them. Imaging shows us that something is a certain way, like structure is damaged. It's not telling us why it is that way. My job is to find out why it is that way.
Right.
So I would rather not know about that other stuff, although it can be helpful. You know, I'm not saying an MRI is not useful. It certainly is useful. It's great information to have, but I think if all you're doing is looking at an MRI report, then you're missing an awful lot.
For sure.
You know?
For sure.
You know?
We got a question from Ibrahim, 0.7. What about shoulder pain? What about shoulder pain? We see it.
We see a lot of shoulder pain.
A lot of shoulder pain. Can you be a little bit more specific?
Yeah, be more specific. Elaborate.
Sadiq Live. What's up, Sadiq?
Sadiq Live, yes. What's up, buddy?
Yao asks, can you do a mock evaluation, asking history, etc. for a first visit?
Like right now?
That might take a little bit.
We can work on something like that. I think, you know what maybe we'll do, which I have never done. I've never recorded an evaluation because obviously like HIPAA and privacy and generally speaking for me, a first session is a very personal thing. You know what I mean? Yep. I like to get to know somebody, have them get to know me on a deeper level and be comfortable here and not, you know, obviously Recovery Lab isn't like, you know, a buttoned up, like polished, like, you know, sterile, like doctor's office environment, and it is like that by design. I want this place to be comfortable and like your living room, like you'd come here to hang out, you know?
Yeah.
But I think if you really want to help somebody, you got to get to know them on a deeper level. So I've never recorded an evaluation before. So it's something I might maybe do for you. You know, maybe I can ask somebody, or actually something I've been toying with the idea of doing is actually like a clinical study in the sense that like offering free sessions to people with a specific issue to gain and gather data from. You know, as obviously as a marketing tool also, if you can get them through the door once, then hopefully you can inspire them to continue to treat their issues and hopefully here or train here or on whatever level. But maybe we'll do it for that. I think in that scenario, if it's a free session, and I can have them sign a release and I'm going to record it and it's for educational purposes, I think that kind of covers the HIPAA issue.
Yeah.
And then we can go from there. So we'll work on that for you, Yao, and see if we can do it.
Cool. Be right, 25. How would you know if you had a fracture in your foot or toe?
Well, I mean, if there's an acute issue, acute injury, and you have, like, you bang your toe hard on something and it hurts like a mofo and it really doesn't, I mean, lots and lots of swelling, lots and lots of bruising. Bones do have blood supply, they do bleed, so if you break a bone, it will bleed and it will look gnarly. Go get an x-ray. That's how you rule it out, is an x-ray.
Yep.
If it's a stress fracture, you need to get a bone scan. Or maybe some MRIs will show if it's a good modern unit might show a stress reaction or stress fracture. So those would be the two areas to start on that.
Cool. Wendy.
What's up, Wendy?
Wendy, you are my favorite. She has a question. Always complaining to Mr. Pranzo about neck pain from looking down when studying and writing.
Mm-hmm.
Should I do any specific stretches or anything specific to ease the neck?
I think you're talking to the right dude right there. We did funny.
We did a lot of neck today. It's very funny.
It's so weird that this happens this way. I had like 4 people today that I ended up doing like neck work with today, which never happens. It's never that many in a single day.
Never. Never.
Yeah, if you're, again, this is a 21st century problem, forward head posture, right? So your chin is out in front, you have a cervical, like, atlas extension, so your deep neck flexors get really jacked up, your upper traps get locked long. I would say roll the upper traps to soften them and bring some blood flow to the table and get some neurosensory input to that area. But we really need to focus on these deep neck flexors in here, right? So this is where you want to ask Anthony to massage you and release this tissue, and then follow that up with some cervical retraction exercises, some scapular control exercises to lock in that range of motion. You just don't want to work on stuff without activating, otherwise you will be in trouble.
Stop studying so much.
Or just stop being a tryhard, damn it.
That was a good answer. Couple more questions.
Sure, all right. As long as we keep getting questions, we'll keep it rolling. Right. There's going to be no awkward silences today. We're not going to sit here and go, well, we got any more questions?
It's never awkward.
What's up? What do we got?
Kella UB_1. I'm a senior at Central Connecticut State University. CCSU, studying exercise science.
Cool.
Do you offer internships?
We certainly do offer internships. Yeah, I have. Well, it depends. We have paid and unpaid internships for performance training, and then we have a recovery lab fellowship, which is a little bit of everything. So right now, Anthony is my fellow. So he's doing mostly the hands-on with me in the lab, and then he will do a period of time where he's also out on the floor getting his chops wet with performance training and corrective exercise, so he kind of gets the whole experience. But yeah, we definitely offer internships. If you go to ampathletes.com, scroll to the bottom of the page, it says careers at AMP, fill out the form, send me your resume, we'll get in touch, we'll set something up. But we have an open door policy. If you want to come learn, we're more than happy to share.
Cool. Red Bull_bike. What is your suggestions, techniques for mobilization release of the psoas major muscle?
I have a few that I like. I like to do some passive ones where, basically pin and stretch. So I'll remember psoas work is extremely painful. It's not comfortable to do. It's not comfortable to get done on you. So the first thing I would say is if you've never had it done to you, get that done first. Have it done on you so that you can experience it, so you have a little bit of empathy. I like to do passive techniques. Pin and stretch through the psoas are really effective. For people who really guard, I like the active technique, which is hop up here, Anthony. Let's we'll do a quick live little demo. I'm not gonna go all the way.
I'll go this way, right?
Yeah, go this way. And obviously this table's ridiculously high. So what I would do essentially is, obviously for you live guys, you're not seeing his leg here, but I can kind of give you the experience on YouTube if you go and go to the YouTube one when I post this later in the week. So there's two techniques. For iliacus, I'll kind of get in right medial to this ASIS, and I'll work the hip into internal and external rotation. This is kind of my first thing I like to do to kind of establish intent. I'm not trying to hurt you. We're getting, I'm getting this person accustomed to the pressure, accustomed to the depth, and kind of getting their own little endorphins pumping a little bit so they're having some pain control, pain modulation. Then I might go into a more active technique in the sense that we're getting more movement, but I'm working into internal rotation and hip extension with this one. So I'm pinning that muscle down, internal rotation and extension. And then the last one I really like is where I will use two hands in the psoas. I will coach up diaphragmatic breathing, and on the exhale I'll take some ground, work up and in towards the spine, and I will have them actively straighten their leg. And the way I coach this up is I tell them to dorsiflex the ankle and kind of push down into the table, maybe 25 to 50%, and almost try to push the leather off the table. And what that does is that reciprocally inhibits the psoas and the quad by getting some glute and hamstring activation. So those are the 3 or 4, I guess, that I like for psoas. I would say that if you're finding yourself doing a ton of psoas work consistently with people, even if it is giving them temporary relief, then you probably need to do some strengthening activation work, which is where the correctives come in. But I'll also do some manual resistance and manual activation work, and a lot of times I can release a psoas just by doing some patterning. So there's a bunch of ways you can go about it. I try to use the tactic that is the technique that's the least invasive, the least painful, and the most effective, and I find that those 3 are usually my go-tos for most people.
Cool. You're right, thank you.
You got it, bud.
Wendy's laughing. Thank you.
Laughing.
Turk_fitness. Why you talk crap? Stop. You're boring. Boring.
Okay, thanks, man.
I think you're boring.
So you can leave, I guess.
I think you're boring.
That's okay. I mean,
Sweet,
hey,
thank you.
I appreciate the feedback, but, it's boring, but this is my life. What am I going to tell you, man? You don't like it.
People just like to troll you.
I know, it's fine. Hey, I got a troll. That's awesome.
Tom
I feel like if we get some more trolls, we'll be good.
Hello. How are you?
Who's that?
Tom_MLB60.
What's up, Tom? How's it going,
man? Luca, 820. I noticed you started using cupping therapy for shoulder myofascial tightness. How do you feel it helps with releasing the myofascial tight muscles that you would use it, and would you use it on any other parts of the body? That's a good question.
I have started using the cupping more in conjunction with like instrument assisted work.
Yeah.
I guess around the shoulder.
Yeah.
I like the cupping because I think it's a no downside treatment. Okay. I in terms of like doing stuff externally to the body, I'm a little bit more weary, but at least with the cupping, there's no downside to it. People report that they feel a lot better. They really, really like it. So I'm cool with it there, as long as it's doing no harm. It's easy to get. It's easy to do. How do I find it works as releasing muscles? I don't know if it works for releasing stuff on its own.
Right.
I think it's more of a way to kind of augment a treatment. Maybe that's a manual treatment. I look at it this way. Most of the stuff I do is a compressive force. So my myofascial, my ART, the instrument-assisted work is all compressive forces on the tissue. The cupping is a traction force. So it's just a different way to speak to the nervous system. It's a different neurosensory input. Your tissues respond to it in a different way because it's a different stimulus. So
sure.
I use it as exactly that, a novel stimulus, and people really like it, and there's no downside. I'm not doing any harm, so
right.
I've been using it more in conjunction with instrument work because I find that it does help pull some slack out of the tissue, and I can get better fascial release with the instrument in other areas when I'm doing it. So that's what I found so far anecdotally. Cool. All right.
That seems to be it with the questions.
That seems to be it. All right, man. Well, like I said, these will be on YouTube. I haven't gotten last week's up yet. I will get it up ASAP. Hopefully, I will do it this weekend. It will get done. I have to get it done, but I have to clear off. I can't do anything on my computer until I empty it. It's been flashing at me all day to, delete some stuff. But I have this like weird anxiety about deleting any videos that I have because I'm like, what if I need it? Which has never happened. Like I've never had raw footage that I've used and then need it again. Very rarely. But I just have this weird thing about like hit and delete. So I got like 1 million external hard drives.
You
now.
hoarder.
I'm a hoarder.
He's a video
hoarder. A video file hoarder.
AF Move, what's up? What's up, guys?
What's up, Andy? How's it going, brother?
Andy? I hope it's a little warmer in Florida than it is out here.
Yeah, it's definitely warmer down there for sure. Miami.
We're soft.
I know we are soft.
As soon as it gets cold, we start to complain about it.
It's 72. It was 72 last week. It's 37 today. So, welcome to New York. What are you gonna do?
Cyber hoarder.
I'm a cyber hoarder. Yeah.
That's good.
Oh my God.
What's up, Boats?
Boats. It's Vinny. That's Vinny.
It's Vinny. What's up, Vinny?
What's up, Vin?
Cool.
How's it going, man? Vinny's one of our athletes. What has he got?
Said 85.
85. Oh yeah. Go screw yourself, Andy. Jeez, man.
Georgios. Hey guys, I hope you're fine.
We are fine. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, we're doing great. So, I think that's where we're going to wrap this up today. What do you think? It's Friday night, 7 o'clock. I'm hungry.
Time.
You're hungry. We're going to head out and grab some food. But we just wanted to say thank you guys for visiting us in the lab. And we really do appreciate you guys coming down and spending your time watching this video. I'm always amazed that people want to listen to what I have to say, which is crazy, maybe with the exception of that one troll in the room. But again,
I love that.
You're entitled to your opinion. I'll try to be more entertaining next time. But we will see you guys. What do we got?
Says we might have to do a duo Insta Live.
Yo, let's do that, Andy. Seriously, man. We had a question earlier, who do I credit a lot of what I've been doing to? And I will say this publicly, that Andy inspired me to share more on my social media accounts. I wasn't really big into posting a ton because I thought it was really kind of like me self-promoting myself, and I always felt like, if I'm good at what I do, people will come, but it's been a total game changer.
You're sitting on all this information.
It changed my whole business, and it really helped me connect with a lot of people that I would have never connected with otherwise. I'm amazed every day. So thank you, Andy. Thank you for doing that, for the inspiration, and for sharing, and for the content that you put out. We definitely have to meet up in person soon, but let's definitely do some collaborative work. That would be a lot of fun. I think we'd have a good time with that.
Cool.
All right, guys, we're going to start and head into the weekend. So this is the Recovery Lab. This is Mike signing off.
This is Anthony saying goodbye.
Take care. Have a good one, and we will see you guys next week.
Take care.